All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I am here with Goose, Heck, Manny, and Gabe. And once again, we're fortunate enough to have another guest, and it's a special guest to us. It's a longtime family friend, our boy Gilbert Rodriguez.
Gilbert.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right into it. This episode is titled, Does Hard Work Pay Off? In this episode, we have a special guest, friend and entrepreneur, Gilbert Rodriguez. We discuss the topic of working hard, the types of workers we are, the kinds of examples we lead for our children, and what we want them to take away from it all, and our recommendation to slackers. We wrap up the episode with quotes from Marlon Wayans and Maria Bartiromo.
Marlon Wayans.
All right. Marlon Wayans.
So I like to kick things off with a brief definition from dictionary.com, and I defined the word work, and it is defined as exertion or effort directed to produce or accomplish something, labor, toil. Number 2, productive or operate activity. And 3, employment, as in some form of industry, especially as a means of earning one's livelihood. So that's a definition of work from dictionary.com. Thank God they didn't use work in the definition as they usually do. Work. So for all the people new and old, thank you for joining us. We drop an episode every Tuesday morning. Don't forget to download and subscribe. And as you know, we kick off the episodes with a brief story. But since we have a special guest, our boy Gilbert, we're going to actually have him say his story, kind of switch some things up. And I think it'll be a bit beneficial for us to hear something from him, a brief bio about himself, and ultimately how he was able to go from apprentice to a successful business owner. So Gil, you want to take it from here?
Get her done.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a long time coming, but at the end of the day, I was an apprentice. I've been doing piping work all my life, ever since I was 17 years old. Actually, even before then, I was in 10th grade doing the VOTEC school. And so at the Bucks County Community Technical School, whatever you want. I guess that's what it's called now. But At the end of the day, it was one of these things where I decided to go into plumbing. And at the time, I didn't realize that it was going to be my lifelong career choice. I just kind of picked it to kind of get me through, I guess, school.
Right.
Never left it. Been doing it ever since. I'm 34. I started off as an apprentice, worked my way up in the trade, was able to become a technician, a full-time technician, and worked for several companies. Plumbing, was one of these trades that at the beginning when I picked it, I got a slack from a lot of people only because it's just a trade job, and people look at plumbing and they just automatically assume that it's just drain work or, get the dirty stuff.
Get the plunger out and plunge out sinks.
Exactly. Things like that. But, as I got into it, I just kind of had this drive in me to be able to take it as far as possible. And within my career, I've been able to literally go all over the world and doing piping projects all over the world, from working for a government contract company, doing 5 months in Antarctica. Being able to support NASA on a project out there was tremendous. It was one of my highlights of my career, to be honest with you. And so being able to travel the world and do some of these projects, I've done a lot of well water projects, being able to bring clean water to small villages in third world countries, being able to volunteer for that. And this is before I owned the business. So that was a really big passion of mine, to be able to have enough time and to really follow my passion. And that's to travel and to be of service to anybody that needs water. And so I was an apprentice, worked my way up as a plumber, worked my way into having the business that we have now. And within that business, where I kind of got into the medical piping, a niche of the business, which is dealing with oxygen piping, surgical vacuum, nitrous oxide, different piping projects like that, which then led to liquid cryogenic work, which is liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen, and things like that. So been very fortunate, been very blessed. I have an awesome family that supported me throughout my career. And, it took a lot of hard work to get to where I'm at. It wasn't easy by any means. There's been a lot of long nights. And you guys know, you guys have been, we've been friends for a very, very long time. So it took a long, I would like to think that it took a long time, but at the end of the day, it really took a lot of hard work. And so now, I own a plumbing business, a plumbing and piping business. We do a lot of residential, commercial, industrial, and medical piping. So, long story longer, it's what I do. I love it. Like I said, it's been able to really get me financially free. I've been able to have 18 employees in a matter of 3 years. We're a multi-million-dollar business, and I couldn't be more blessed to be a part of something so big. I'm just a kid from Bristol, to be honest with you, born in Lower Bucks Hospital. So to be where I'm at today, man, it took a lot of help from a lot of people. It took being humbled. It took listening to successful people. And at the end of the day, it's all about, being willing to be teachable. And if you're teachable, and if you talk to the right people, you'll get there yourself, And so, again, I'm just very blessed. I have a 9-year-old son, and my wife, we've been married, Shanique, we've been married going on 14 years in March. So, I mean, it's been a long time. And like I said, I'm grateful. I got a lot of people around me that support me. So that's very important.
How many years you been in North Carolina?
Moved here in 2004.
Good. The accent picked up. It sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, Bo, you want to explain that to us?
How'd you get that, Bo?
A while ago when I moved down here in 2004.
All right, so I know you just gave like a brief bio of yourself, how you got involved. I thought it was intriguing that the whole thing started basically like a shot in the dark kind of deal, just something to do at a tech school or whatever, but. Just to fast forward really quick and kind of, give us an explanation, because when you were here in Pennsylvania, where you're originally from, where was the transition? And because now you're located and your home base really is out of North Carolina, and this is where your business started and is flourishing from. Obviously, you guys go outside, North Carolina state-wise, but that's the home base. So what was that about? Going from PA to NC?
So I got married young. I was married. In fact, I had just turned 21 when I got married. So I turned 21 in January. Got married in March, and so we had bought a home, and actually in Wildwood, believe it or not. But it was unlivable. It was one of these homes that contractors passed it up. I mean, it needed so much work. It was so bad. I remember working during the day. And then working at night, going to the house and working at the house till about maybe 11 o'clock at night, then going to Jersey, sleeping and getting back up at 5 a.m. to go to work and do it all over again. And so we did that for about 5 months, got the house completed. And then my wife's uncle was showing, he was actually looking to move to North Carolina. He was from actually New Jersey. And so while I was working, full-time job plus overtime, she was working, nonstop as well at an eye doctor's office. We were looking at these homes that her uncle was looking to buy, and it just dawned on me. I said, wait a minute, you can get what, for your money. Your money goes a lot further in the South. And so, my wife and I talked about it. We said, look, I've really, we're just starting out. We're newlyweds. We got a lot going for us, and except for being up north at the time, we just didn't have money. We didn't have hardly anything to kind of live off of. So we only had trash bags to our names, and that's the honest truth. We had 6 trash bags. We only had clothes with us, and we were living with a friend in Jersey that gave us an oversized closet to sleep in while we fixed the house. So I got in an amazing amount of debt trying to fix the house. And so that we really couldn't afford, to be honest with you. We bought this house. It was a HUD home. It was back in 2000 and I believe 3. actually 2004 when we bought the house. When at the time, I don't know if you guys remember, the mortgages, anybody could get a mortgage. I was 21 and it was a no doc loan. I mean, they didn't ask for any information.
That's
They
wild.
were just like, "Do you have a job?" I said, "Absolutely." They're like, "Well, congratulations, you're a new homeowner." So back then, everybody could get a mortgage. So we got a mortgage. We couldn't afford it, and so we were able to sell the house and then move to North Carolina. We actually had our house built with the money that we've made in the house in Pennsylvania. So then, and that really kind of propelled us in the right direction as far as our lives, as far as our focus, as far as our ability to kind of sink our feet into our new home, into our new atmosphere, our new surroundings. It was just my wife and I. Her uncle had yet moved down, so it was just her and I. And we lived there, just her and I, for about, I think, a year and a half until some family started moving down. But we were young. We were early 20s, and that's exactly how it happened as far as the transition. I was actually working for a plumbing company out of Levittown, and my boss in Levittown, I told him I was moving to North Carolina. He asked me if I had a job, and I said no. He said, "Don't worry about looking for one. I'll find you one." And so, again, that's just a testament of being surrounded by really good people. And so my boss up in Levittown actually called the plumbing company here in North Carolina and told this company about me, and I was able to come in and land a job right away. So it was a really smooth transition.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and I was just forever grateful for that connection that was made. And so in North Carolina, I've been working for plumbing companies and for a while, and that's how that's how the transition really happened.
That's a fascinating story.
So
This
now,
guy.
So now you consider yourself a master plunger, or?
Yeah, it's something sort of master plunger. Depends on how you look at it.
So,
But,
so the common thread that I'm hearing is work, 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 work. It was not easy. There's a bunch of bumpy roads, but somehow, some way, you guys figured it out. The plan, whether it was a plan or not, just kind of you guys went with the flow, but not in an easy way. Obviously, it took a lot of hard work, dedication. I'm sure a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of headaches, a lot of arguments, whatever. But because that's definitely not easy to do. But so let's just open this up now that we have kind of like Gilbert's background for everyone else. Obviously, the guys here in the studio know who he is and knows his background. But even us, I mean, we've been friends for the longest time. There's stuff in that brief bio that I didn't even know. So it's kind of cool. That's why I love the podcast. It kind of opens up things to elements that we didn't know about each other. It's kind of interesting. Keeps it. It's awesome. It's fun. So with that being said, the first question is, and anyone can answer now. Now, Gil, you're part of the group now. Does hard work pay off?
Absolutely.
Not at all.
Absolutely.
Who said that?
That's an honest answer.
Hey, sometimes some people feel that way. No. But I think he was kidding. But yeah, so does hard work pay off? I mean, just listening to that awesome story, knowing the stories of each guy here, I'm gonna go on my on my own here and say yes, hard work does pay off. There's a bunch of hardworking guys in the studio. We have a hardworking individual on Skype joining us now, and to be honest with you, I want to say, and let me just speak for myself anyway. We had the support of family members, and I'm not talking about financially or nothing like that. I'm just talking about just like the moral support or like the support in a sense where they want you to do better, right? They want to cheer you on. They want to see you become, the best version of yourself, so to speak. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean they're going to do the push-ups for you, right? We talk about this all the time. You got to do your own push-ups. Like, we all want to be physically fit. We all want to be financially independent. We got to do the work ourselves. Like, they can't do the push-ups for us. They can't stack your savings account for you. You got to do that stuff. You got to become disciplined yourself. So just going on that. But the other thing, when we're talking about hard work pays off, and seeing all, or listening to Gilbert's story a lot of there's a lot of risk in there too, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because there's like a lot of,
Like it, yeah.
you know, some people might say, you know, oh, well, that's a gamble. He took a gamble. But if he took what I would call a calculated risk, because then he's basically, he had a house that, you know, wasn't, you know, the best fit, I guess, for them, but then flipped it, you know, got his money back. It wasn't the best situation, but then made a better, even better situation for his little family, him and his wife. That's a calculated risk, right? And then making that move to a place where cost of living's lower.
Yeah.
That's almost genius.
Move.
Right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so going from there and or listening to his story, Gil, is there, when we say does hard work pay off, the clear answer is yes. Was that something that you saw growing up, or is that just something that you just have naturally, or is it a combination of both?
You know, I've thought a lot about that when people say, you know, hard work or being driven, motivated, things like that. And at the end of the day, I think it's something that has just been within me for a long time. I think you guys are too, but my brother and I, we're first generation here. You know, mom and dad come straight from the island of Puerto Rico, and dad and mom struggled. I mean, growing up, I mean, my dad was a maintenance man for many years at an apartment complex because he didn't know English, and they weren't the best of conditions. And so, you know, my mentality, especially now that I get older, I can really see this is my drive. A lot of it comes from, you know, hey, look, you know, mom and dad came over here. They took a shot. They went to a country that they had no idea how to speak the language. They had two boys, and now they're in a country not knowing the language, growing up in some, you know, not so great condition. And so the way I like to look at it is that's a lot of motivation. You know, that's a lot of motivation to say, hey, mom and dad, your move to here wasn't a waste. You know, my brother and I got here, so I'm going to work extremely hard at no matter what I did in my life to either, you know, to make, number one, make them proud, but number two, show them that, look, mom and dad, you guys did make the right move, because, you know, and not just financially, but in any aspect of life, you'd like to consider yourself successful. And so with that being said, with working hard, motivation and all that, you know, a lot of that comes from how I grew up. You know, when I was young, my mom and dad, my brother, you know, the people that are closest to me, you know. And as far as working hard, that's just something that, you know, Pops has always taught me work ethic from a very, very young age, you know, and that I don't know if that will ever leave me, you know. And that's something that to try to transfer that to your children is something that that is extremely important, you know. And so, but to answer that question, I mean, I think I've had motivation since I was a kid. When I was younger, man, I was a scrappy kid, man. And my brother will tell you, I always got myself into trouble. I was just scrappy, you know. Nothing really ever stopped me from wanting to do something that I really wanted to do, whether it was good or bad. You know, it was one of those things where being driven, I think there's some aspect of being driven that is just inside of you that, you know, it's really hard to explain, you know.
Yeah, so you obviously you witnessed it, the hard work, you experienced it, and at some point you made a decision in your mind, basically in some form you're going to give back to your parents. Absolutely. For the risk that they took coming here, and also the sacrifices and the dedication they did, because they wanted a better life for you and your brother. And you're saying basically that you had this, you're just a ball of energy, whether the energy was directed in a negative way or a positive way. Eventually you're able to bottle that up and push it towards a motivating, positive direction.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I feel like, Manny, you touched upon this before, saying that watching your dad, or you weren't even awake. You know, none of us, I think, were awake when our dads got up to go to work, but when we were kids anyway. But I remember you saying that almost kind of the same thing Gilbert was saying, is you saw there was no way you weren't going to work hard because what your dad did. You want to like touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's something I think all of us have seen. You don't at the time, you don't take it in. You don't realize what's happening until you've kind of grown up and you realize, like, man, he put in 12 hours, 14 hours, all so we could eat. And as a kid, you have no idea what's happening.
Right.
But, you know,
that was your normal.
That's the norm, you know. Dad
Yeah.
comes home after 12, 14 hours, you know, eats dinner and then goes about fixing the house and doing this. And it's just like, yeah, that's what Dad does. But you don't gain that appreciation till you're put in that position. You're like, man. And the level of respect goes up. And then you think to yourself, you know, you're going to do exactly what you learned. And it really is just a subconscious thing. In my opinion, it's subconscious because you don't ever take note and say, oh, I need to learn from that. You just kind of see it and then you just kind of you do it yourself. It just becomes a part of you. Yeah. So I think that's something I hope to be able to pass down to my son here as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing, I think it was Will Smith or I don't know, it was one of these like high-end actors.
Just the two of us, Will Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
That one. That same guy building castles in the sky.
Yep.
He said something about he turned into a whole other beast when he had his first kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. He has 2 kids, I think, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't
Willow
matter.
and
So when he had his child, he went like, apparently he said his work ethic, right, went through the roof. Now, anyone who knows Will Smith, he was basically at one point, I don't know if he is now, was the hardest working actor at his height of his career.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
if he's there anymore, but I think The Rock took that over.
Sure.
But
Kevin Hart.
yeah, they're up there. So did that actually happen to any of you guys here? Any of you guys who, obviously, all of us but Gabe, but we all have children did that?
Absolutely. Like going back as a kid, your first teacher is your parents or your dad.
Yeah.
So I would see Pop working on a car, and me being a little guy, I'd steal like a screwdriver and try to like pretend like I'm working on my bike, like I was doing something. There was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But just because I saw what he was doing looked cool, he was busy, he was fixing something.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I want to fix something too. Like, there was nothing wrong. I'm sticking screwdrivers in like holes that shouldn't be there, but like I just wanted to feel like I'm doing something. I'm working, and then as you get older, you just start. You're right side, like I know we were side by side with him. Any like simple job he would do, or he would take on side jobs at houses, and we'd go whether we were the gopher or we were just actually helping or doing nothing, but we just sat there and watch him work day in, day out. And like Manny said, watching like my dad work 12 hours or whatever, I didn't know no difference. I thought that's what I thought like he was supposed to do. Yeah, that's what. So now as an adult, we work like I work 10 hours, 11 hours easily, like it's nothing because I've always done that. But that's what we've always been taught. Like that's what we've been taught. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On top of my mom working hours, and it all like got put together. But the work ethic our parents put in our head, and then on top of that, like us with Gilbert and stuff, we would go to school all day, then play sports, and at night we would go to church 3 days a week. Like so, our weekly schedule was so crazy, but. Growing up, we were like, oh, I don't want to do this. But now as adults, you kind of like, now you know how to manage your hours throughout the day and like put things where they're supposed to go and to be like productive.
Yeah.
To be productive in every which way. That's what our parents did with us. They had 3 kids and they still managed to go to work, take us to our sports, go to church, teach us like the right ways of life, and then still do it again the next day and do it in, week out. And now we're on our own. Now those are the decisions we're making from learning off of them, watching them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it taught us time management and ultimately discipline. I mean, because it was literally our schedules were like nonstop. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, because you hear stories of kids being overbooked, they call it, or overscheduled, and they're just constantly busy and constantly whatever. It's like, wait a minute, so were we. We never called it overbooked or constantly. That was just life. Like that's what we did. But it did. I felt like it gave us a well balanced, because we were in school, we were in sports, we went to church. That gave us like a well balanced life. So it wasn't like we're just working for 19 hours straight and then we went to bed.
At the same time, like my mom, she's like a very organized freak, so everything was done or in an organized way. So it didn't even seem like stuff was crammed in.
Yeah.
It was just like, boom, this is what we got to do. Boom. The next step, boom, next hour. So so the transitions were just smooth. So we didn't feel overwhelmed as kids. Just
thought it was normal.
Yeah.
No, I mean hard work. I've always seen hard work. Well, we've always seen hard work. Like when my parents first bought the house in Bristol, Pop had 2 jobs going on. He was working at the factory and I think working at McDonald's also. And so once they were saving up money, whatever, to get the house in Bristol, well, the house was nothing ready to be moved into.
Yeah.
Like it took about a good month and a half, 2 months for Pop to rebuild this whole house inside and out to get it ready for his family.
Just to make it livable.
Just to make it livable. So I mean, I just saw him going to work, going to his 2 jobs, and still figuring out time how to get in there to get this house suitable for his kids and his wife. Like that's just straight up hardcore work. And then at the end, it paid off because the house when we sold the house was completely renovated. Like no one would ever realize that the house looked the way it did from his hard work into that house.
Yeah.
And so like when I bought my house, I thought the same thing. I was like, the house that I bought, it wasn't, it was livable, like move-in ready, but I didn't want it the way it was. So, and I was on crunch time. So I just had like, I think it was like 4 or 5 days to get the house ready for me and the girls, me and my family. So I remember how Papa did it. He just went in there and nothing was stopping him. He just went in, busted his behind and got the house ready. And that's how my motivation was thinking about how Pop was. Because at the time when I got the house, he was sick. He was there. He actually helped me
He was
first day.
dying of cancer, and this dude's directing us. And, yo, you got to do this. Yo, you got to do this. He was nonstop.
It was awesome, but it was a good feeling to see him there, like, and watching me, like, put my house up together. So I got the house ready within 5 days, and I brought my girls in, and we were ready to go. So, I mean, just watching him do his hard work definitely, like, motivated me to have hard work, like, to do hard work and stuff like that, because it always pays off in the end.
Absolutely. And then we'll jump into other topics versus, working hard, in a labor manner versus working smart in a different tone.
Yeah.
But moving right along, let's jump into the next question. This one's for Gabe. And then after Gabe answers, we'll kind of answer this. What kind of worker do you consider yourself? Do you slack off, do less than what you're paid for? Are you in the middle, just doing what's necessary? Or are you hardworking, maybe over-deliver?
For the most part, I mean, because I at work now, I mean, I do stuff way beyond like what I'm actually supposed to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always times where like, you're like not in the mood. You do what you're supposed to do at that time. But
so you're all 3 depending on the day.
it can vary.
I think everyone has a slack day. Though.
Yeah.
Like you come into work, you're like, I don't feel like it, and like
you kind of like just get the day along,
get the
whatever.
day by,
Mail it in.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, at least I do what I'm supposed to do for that day. But for
Yeah.
the most part, like even more recently, because we've been crazy shorthanded, I've been doing way above beyond what I'm supposed to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
Just to cover everybody else, and like I'm usually getting backed up just on my own stuff, just because helping everybody else out doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, it varies, like on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, for the most part, I'm at least the middle part for the most part.
Man, what about you?
I was just listening to you guys. I'm not allowed to have that type of day, and I think Mikey and Gil,
What type of day?
that like kind of slack off day.
Yeah.
Being I work for a company, but I run a department, so I look at it to make it through the day and make it kind of worthwhile. I look at it as it is my business. You know what I mean?
Right,
That
right,
little
right.
department is Manny's business.
Yeah.
So those days that you guys, I long for those days sometimes. Let me not say I'm not 100%. Nobody can be 100% all the time. It's impossible. But there's times where
Gilbert is.
Yeah, well, because he has to, right? And I was gonna ask him that question. It's like you're not allowed. Like as a boss, you can't take off. Like even when you're down and out and you have that day, you got to find it within you to then motivate your guys because they feed off of you, and that's kind of that's a whole different level.
Being a business owner and everything, that's a whole different
Right,
level
exactly.
of all that. So obviously, Mikey can talk to that too. But
Yeah, Goose, same thing. But let me jump in before the 2 business owners talk. 'Cause I'm the same with Manny with managing a department. And then me and Manny had this conversation where I had to help out with another facility or whatever. So now I'm traveling between 2 facilities and managing both. You're right. It's like one of those things you're like, oh my gosh, man, I guess I took for granted the days where we're just kind of like laid back and chill. And then you go there and it's new. Now you're meeting new people. Now you're directing new people on what to do and how they operate. And then, this facility operates what I just came to realize totally different than the way we operate. And you're dealing with different people, different attitudes, different, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Schedules are totally different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so And then I have kind of like the small thing here with like my blog and then the podcast, and doing that, managing that, it's the same thing. You always have to have a smile. You always have to, when people are emailing you and people are getting back to you and talking to you and that, putting together the itinerary, all this stuff, there's no like, oh, I don't want to do it today. You know what I'm saying? It's like, exactly. This is what happens. And then Gabe knows in the meantime, we're editing, we're talking to sponsors, we're trying to get the business rolling. There's so many aspects that aren't all you guys capture, right? Gilbert and Goose, you guys can attest to this. All that the world captures is this little nugget of an hour that we give off a week.
Yeah.
And that's all they see.
Yeah.
That's all your one customer sees, right, Gil? That they just see you for an hour, 2 hours, however long the job is. They don't know what goes behind that. Goose, they only get a half hour of your haircut, but they don't know what's going on behind that, right?
Yeah,
and it's that same kind of concept where he's like, they appreciate it, but at the same time, like, man, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
They're just there for the finished product. They don't know
exactly.
how long it takes or what it takes to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Gil, what do you want? You want to talk on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what Manny said. You're not really allowed the luxury. As far as myself, I've got a responsibility for multiple families. That I don't have that opportunity to be like, hey man, today I'm taking off, or I'm just gonna have a bad day today, or hey look, I'm pissed off, so everybody in this whole room is gonna feel me, all pissed off about whatever the case is, and so I don't have the luxury of taking off. Even when I'm on vacation, I'm not off.
Oh, you're always on call. You're always on call.
Yeah, you have to be on standby.
I'm always on, But at the end of the day, I understand my role, as the owner. I mean, I understand the role. This is the bed that I made for myself, I guess, so to speak. I mean, but I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take it back. I don't regret it. I love it. There's many people that rely on me to make good decisions, to have a good attitude. What I deal with is what I deal with, and a lot of people don't see it, only because it's in the nature of the business. I mean, you can't to run success. I mean, don't get me wrong. People see that you're human, and they know that when you're going through something that's difficult. But at the end of the day, all your employees and all the people that are, like for Manny, for example, all the people that you're managing, they look at your reactions.
Sure.
They look at the reactions of what happens in life that's going to make you flip, or what happens in life or in the job that's going to make you, not act the way that Manny acts, or the way that, any of us act in front of our work people, so it's a big responsibility. But before I was an owner, I was a go-getter. I was just nonstop working all the time. And then when I had Jaden, things kind of slowed down. I still worked hard, but I worked smarter to be able to have more time with my son. And so a lot of refocusing. And then now as an owner, I don't have any off days. But at the end of the day, it's a good thing, to be where I'm at.
So is that part of like the cons, I guess, that you're getting the financial freedom, or you're getting there where you want to be financially, and not having a boss, and not, basically being a director of your own career, but then the busy part, is that normally what people encounter, Goose, Gilbert, like when you have like your own business, is that it's the busyness of the whole thing? Because you said you want to have your own, your own freedom.
Yeah, it's constantly busy. I mean, I put it to you like this: I stopped logging hours of how many hours I actually work.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I knew how many hours I actually work, if I calculated every email, every email I had to answer, every phone call, every moment that I had to put towards the business, I wouldn't want to know what those hours are. But at the end of the day, it's about leverage, and it's about leveraging a certain part of you to someone else to trust in your organization to take that off of your plate. And the more and more you do that, the more you realize that you have an organization, you've leveraged yourself in so many aspects of your business, that you're able to step back and go, hey, look, this week I'm going to go to a cruise, or I'm going to go take my family on vacation. And not so much as it is to stress about it. You're still on the clock, because if you get a phone call, your name is on the business. So, but at the end of the day, your day-to-day operations, that's how we've been able to grow, is just to say, okay, I'm getting too busy with this. Let me leverage myself and hire someone to do this part of what I'm doing. And by the time you know it, you'll be completely leveraged, and the business can run with or without you. Yeah. And that's how I see the success, is when a business can run completely smooth with the culture that you've created in your organization, and you can actually step away for a month and go, hey, Pureline's they're doing rock solid because we've put in the foundation. The foundation is everything, and the foundation probably takes a long time to build. But once you have the foundation, man, you're solid, and that's where your freedom kind of comes in.
So we live in a microwave society, meaning that people want everything yesterday, with an employee mentality. Yeah. So they only want to put in minimal work and want everything as fast as they can. Yeah. With that being stated, do you think, or does anyone here think, that is, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to being a business owner, do you think that's a personality thing and that's only for specific people, or do you think people can convert to think a certain way and act a certain way and own their own business?
That's a loaded question.
It is. It's almost a trick question.
Yeah. I mean, that's a loaded question. So you're talking about, I think, generational differences. Yeah. So you're talking about millennials versus, Gen X versus, or whatever you want to call the generations. Now I think, like you said, it's a microwave type society where everybody wants something instantly. Yeah. So at the end of the day, as having a business or just working in a business, not even just necessarily having a business, but if you're just working at a company, you're going to get these people that say, hey, look, I'll work hard, but at 4 o'clock, I want to go mountain biking. And I want to come in at 9 on Mondays, and then I want to leave on 2 o'clock on Fridays. Yeah. So, that is just the generation today. It's just like the things that they do outside of work, versus when we grew up, work was everything. Yeah, like you go into work at 7 a.m. You get, you work until your boss says, hey, we're good, and you can leave. Yeah. Not anymore. Now it's very employee driven. And so you have to kind of not necessarily cater to those kind of needs, but take in consideration how are you going to get the best out of an employee who lives that type of lifestyle or has that type of mentality. And we struggle with that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the points of you always having to be on. As your business develops, you have to continue to evolve as a business owner, because people's wants and needs and necessities change with each generation. So what used to just be strictly pay and maybe medical benefits is now, quality of life, time with parents, flexibility of or time with kids, flexibility of hours. There's that's the hard work that nobody sees. That's the man behind the curtain. That's what drives your business that nobody sees, and that's the kind of the ugliness of success that nobody wants to talk about, and that's where the real hard work kind of starts and ends.
I like something Manny said earlier too, when he said he sees his department as his own little business, as his own little entity. Because I'm hopping around looking for a book, but it was written by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Man, do you remember what that book was called? Anyway, Dave Ramsey, who's a financial guru, has his own show, the Dave Ramsey show or whatever. But anyway, he always interviews, every once in a while he'll interview this rabbi who basically gives you the outlook of the Jewish culture and how they view themselves. So they literally label themselves purposely. So my brother Miguel, Goose, would be called Goose the Barber, Gilbert the Plumber. And so that you would already know who they are, even if you guys didn't own your own companies. So you were already your own entity. So if someone in the family needed a haircut, you would come to their house and make your own money. You wouldn't do it at the job site. Same thing with you. If I needed plumbing work done, you would just come to my house without it's just a given. and everyone has their own little trade or whatever it is. How do you feel as like a business owner when your guys take on kind of that pride or take on that kind of, they're going to your clients' houses, inside their houses? And I remember one thing you were telling me, which was, it was super funny because I started to pay attention to this stuff, that you guys put booties on when you walk into someone's house. And then I watched one of these, like one of the Verizon guys or something, we were getting our cable, and he did the same thing. He put a little booty on, and I was cracking up. I'm like, that was something, I'm not going to mention the other cable company, they didn't do. And the dude actually left mud tracks in my office. So if your guys do that and take on that, like they're the mini Gilbert, how awesome is that?
Man, that's priceless. I mean, you can't get better employees like that. I like to call them lifers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think to be successful, you have to have a good group of people around you. Your employees are everything. They're the face of the company. I'd be a fool to sit here and think that everyone calls the company because of me. That would be a foolish thing to say.
Right.
They're calling because of the person that they met that represents our organization. Yep. It's my job to create a culture that employees would want to go, you know what, I'm taking ownership of this department. I'm taking ownership of this other department, or that kind of mentality of this is mine. Because at the end of the day, as an owner, you have to keep guys like Manny motivated. You have to keep them and go, okay, you know what? What's important to him? He knows what's important to me. Mm-hmm. So what's important to him, so that we can reciprocate that kind of care, that kind of mentality of, you know what, Manny, you got our back, I'm gonna have your back. And just like Manny said, there's a lot of things that people don't have as priority. Like, it's not money all the time. Mm-hmm. It could be like, hey, look, I got 2 weeks paid vacation. I want 3 extra days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's true though. Hey, I've been looking at a canoe for the last 6 months. You know what, Manny? Here's your canoe. Bam. There's different things that you could do, especially with people that motivate themselves like that. That's just priceless. I mean, you can't get a better employee like that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I it's nice to hear that coming from, the business mindset. Obviously, not everyone thinks in that manner, and and that's how they lose employees ultimately. But I love how you keep going back to, you are the one responsible for cultivating that culture and having that kind of atmosphere of love and appreciation. That it's not just about, the money, that the hard work is being seen. You're not going unnoticed, and even small things like rewards and stuff like that. It's very important to people to understand that they are appreciated. I mean, that just comes from any aspect, any level. Once a person starts to have the mentality where, well, I'm paying you, that's the reason why you should be doing what I'm telling you to do. While that is 100% factual, because that's all that is, that's just a fact. There's no empathy in there. There's no caring in there. There's no love in that statement. I once worked for a guy who said that. He says, I don't understand bonuses. I don't understand what that means. What is a Christmas bonus? He wanted me to explain to him. And I said, well, first of all, I've gotten them before. I've never asked this guy for a bonus. I don't know where this came out of, like left field or whatever. And I said, I just think it's just kind of like a token of appreciation that, kind of a little extra. Just like when you go to a restaurant, you paid for your meal, but you gave that person a tip. It's just a little extra. And sometimes your tip varies. If they stunk at what they did, your tip's a little lower. Yeah. But if they're, a master at their craft, you're given 20% and plus, right? Yeah. That's kind of all the bonus was. And I wasn't even asking for one. I was just trying to explain it to him. He's like, yeah, that's why I pay you. That's why I pay you hourly. And I said, and to be honest with you, this guy's business stunk. Like, he had no,
and it will.
Oh, and it was awful. What's that called? When employees don't stay around.
Turnover.
His turnover was awful. Literally every week he was interviewing somebody. And he spent all his time on these interviews and getting people through that process instead of retaining what you have. And I felt like he was wasting more money by doing what he's doing, having that kind of mentality.
Yeah. True. The biggest thing you could do, in my opinion, and again, I didn't go to school for business. I didn't go. I mean, I was literally just jumped into it. But knowing people and learning people, I think the biggest thing you could do to keep people and to retain is, to let your people know that they have a voice. What we do in the organization, in my organization, is when we have a big time decision to make, I literally have a roundtable discussion with all 16 to 17 people in the organization and go, listen, this, and it is not necessarily to go, hey, what do you guys think? We're going to do that. But it is to say, hey, look, this is what we're thinking of doing. I just want everybody to know, we're going to go ahead and move into a new building or whatever the decision may be.
Yeah.
So then, and then that way you say, does anybody have any comments or questions or concerns? It's all laid out there. So then if somebody has an idea on anything, it's like, you know what? Hey, man, that was a great idea. We're going to go ahead and implement that idea. That was fantastic. You want to create that culture? That's how you create that culture, is by having your people have a voice in your own organization. Who wants to go to work and go, I'm not important, and it doesn't matter what I say. You can streamline processes, but my manager's not going to listen to me. Now you're going to have a disgruntled person that's going to be like, you know what, I'm out. Versus going, hey, manager, hey, Manny, I have an idea, man. We've been doing it this way, but I feel like if we put this app in place and we streamline this process, we can save 3% a month, 10%. And a good manager like Manny is going to be like, you know what? That's a fantastic idea. Let me go ahead and have a team meeting about it, and we'll see what we could do. Mm-hmm. That person that went to Manny, if that process is implemented, will stay forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just the to me, in a nutshell, that's the easiest way you're going to create a really good culture and have people stay for a long time.
That's crazy you said that, because working for the state, I've been there for going on my 11th year. You always felt like nobody listened to you, nobody cared. So there was never that one person to stand up and like to take that initiative to listen to the actual employees. So this one new guy comes in back in July. He started doing this brown bag lunch. Once a month on a Thursday, you bring your lunch into the conference room, and it started out at first in the conference room, and all 900 employees, more than that, are welcome to go at lunchtime and go in there, voice your opinion, give an idea, get his feedback onto what's going on. So the first time it happened, it was only in one conference room. It was so huge that they actually set up what we're doing now with Skype. So they have the cameras, and they have 3 conference rooms in each building. So now they have Skype going on, and people are going back and forth and voicing their opinion. And so much has changed within these past 7 months, 8 months now within the state because of this guy. Now, mind you, this guy is young, and he's very, very aggressive as far as trying to get things done and trying to prove his point and show that things can get done as long as you appreciate your employees.
Exactly.
And I think when he came, a lot of people were like, whatever, he's a young kid, he's gonna come in here and demolish everything and just make it. No, he's actually turning everything around. He put social media into play with us. We're IT, so we should have an IT or a Twitter account or a Facebook account open so that we can go back and forth as employees, but also other agencies can see what we're actually doing, what's going on.
Right.
So when this guy came in, I mean, I say younger, he's younger than me, and he is CTO.
Wow. Of
this place of over 1,000 people. So I mean, it's cool, like what you're saying. Like, if you give your employees, let them have that voice, then they will show it, and they'll appreciate it more. Like, you're showing them the appreciation.
It gives them bigger investment and incentive to actually work harder.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So all right. Going opposite of that, as a boss, how do you handle employees that are not pulling their weight? How many chances do you give them? Do you provide them with solutions? How do you motivate your employees? Do you reward the hard work? We kind of talked about that.
Gilbert buys people canoes. I'm about to go work for him. Yeah, I want a job. I want a canoe.
Yeah, that's funny. That's been my biggest struggle. For me, the first thing is to nobody's ever going to work as hard as you, right? You know, they'll always do a little bit less than what you'll do. So the hardest thing for me was to be objective and really like be realistic and be completely objective to know that they're not going to be you. You're the manager for a reason, or you're put in this position for a reason. I don't have to be a manager, but separating myself from just do what I do to realizing what they do, and then be able to manage from there, and then start to set goals and start to really just frame a game plan around their strengths and weaknesses was when everything started to change. You know what they're not pulling, that weight they're not pulling, you know, but they might be pulling more weight over here. So I kind of framed everything around, and it might be right or wrong. I've kind of framed myself and molded myself to fill in the gaps and then get rid of some of those responsibilities that person likes. So instead of, you know, he might not be pulling the right type of weight, so to speak, but now I'll get him to pull. Okay, we'll pull that way then. I'll pull this way. I'll pull that way. Together, we'll get it moving forward.
So you're saying you go towards their strengths.
Yeah, I kind of mold myself around to what the team needs. Because at first I was just pissed, and it came off. I was passive, and it became passive aggressive, and then at one point it was just direct, and it was horrible. And that culture that Gil's talking about it wasn't good, because I would get antsy, and I'd have to work myself up literally into a frenzy to just tell, you know, who essentially is my employee, look, just, you know, do this. So it was just, now here, goal setting. This is what we need to do. This is what I'd like to see done. And then it was just easier. But I separated myself from being annoyed or upset that you're not doing what I'm doing. Well, no, they're not. They're not supposed to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So are you saying this as in working hard or not doing not fulfilling their job description?
Well, not fulfilling their job description that's an immediate problem. That's just factual based. Like, listen, this is your responsibilities. This is what you need to be doing. And that's more.
So you were taking not carrying their weight as the equivalent to yourself.
Correct. And that was my big, like, where I felt, you know, and everybody feels like this, and I'm sure everybody can touch on this, is where you feel like you're like underwater at some point, and meanwhile they might be on their phone texting around a smoke break. And internally, my brain wants to fry. Like, I'm inside, I'm pissed.
You, because you're managerial, like you're management at that point. So yes, you are always going to be above them. You will always be doing more than them.
To a degree, I mean, but there's layers to it where, you know, you could be wasting, rather than spending your time on something that doesn't necessarily need your attention or moving the department or the business forward. Right. You're kind of doing busy work where something, this is what that person is kind of there for, to help grow the business. Well, I'm doing the little tedious work, smoking a cigarette, and then inside I'm just burning, you know, a hole in myself. My soul's dying slowly. So I had to kind of, you know, you learn and mature and evolve over time. But that's kind of that's been the most difficult part for me is that conversation.
So in a sense, you provided them with a solution.
Yeah. But
it was more geared towards what their strength was.
And then, you know, giving them goals to, you know, try to make their weaknesses a little bit stronger or kind of, you know, help them to evolve and even progress forward.
Yeah.
So goal setting really was the easy way for me to do it.
Yeah. So Gil, you talked about or Goose, one of you guys actually could answer. It's really in between. You know, rewarding your employees, right, for, you know, in certain aspects, kind of tailoring it obviously to them. As the one example that was said, one person might want a canoe, the other person might want vacation, and obviously it depends on the kind of person they are. If they really are pulling their weight and they're excelling, and you wanted to, I guess, you know, reward that in some form. How do you? This always, and you obviously you talked about you know, employee psychology and stuff like that. But how do you guys motivate an employee who, you know, has the potential, maybe has a skill set, and you're in the back of your mind, they probably even have a better skill set than you, and you're cracking up in the back of your mind like, wow, if this person actually applied themselves, they would be something. Is unreal.
Yeah. Well, with me, my field is totally different. We're commission based, so it's like what you do, that's how you kind of get paid, and that's So
it's like a motivator in itself.
Well, yeah. So if you're sitting around doing nothing, you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So I had one of my employees was like, he's sitting around. He's like, dude, I should just come in later because I don't get no one in the morning. Blah blah, blah, and just kept complaining about like that. And then another employee of mine, he's full fledged on social media, put himself on blast. Like, yo, I'm open. I have these appointment slots open. Fill it up, and he's always jam packed. And then like and I look at the two; they're totally different. So I try to combine them. So I said to the one that's sitting around, like, yo, do what he does. Put yourself on social media. Put yourself on blast. Put yourself out there. Tell them you're open. You're free. Like these hours or whatever, or just like knock off a couple dollars off what you normally charge just to draw them in.
Yeah.
And then on me, so as customers walk-ins come in, I kind of push them in his direction.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get flooded with work and stuff like that.
Right.
So then like him hearing me, oh yeah, he's good, go over there. So that's boosted him up. He knows that I have that confidence in him.
Yeah, sure.
As opposed to if I didn't talk to him or I don't push like work his way, or like he's just gonna sit there and just stare at his phone. He'll be on social media just liking people's pictures instead of posting his pictures. You know what I mean? So like we try to convert the other way. I'm like, you're on there, post pictures, do what what you love. He's just not like, he's just expecting everything to fall in his lap. So it's like, but now like in the past like month or two, now he's getting flooded and like now he doesn't even know what to do, and he's saturated with work now, but he's just like, now it's like, I got too much. I gotta stop. I gotta cut my day early because I'm working too much. And it's just like there's certain people. Yeah, there's certain people that's just, they want to work at their own pace. Mm-hmm. They're not as aggressive as you and I are. Yeah. Like I'll eat it all day long. I'll keep going. Yeah. Some people just want to do it at their pace because if you force them, their product isn't gonna be right either. They're gonna be rushing stuff and it's gonna be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So like I mean, so in a sense, like at the end of the week, I buy the guys lunch on a Friday, like pizzas, whatever, and just show my appreciation. Christmas time, give them a little bonus, little something. My business is really, really small, so I can't compare. I don't have like
giving canoes away.
Yeah, I don't have that. Like, I'm not. It's smaller than like what most businesses are, but like I get that one-on-one action with them. So.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I mean, that's just what I.
I would never see a bonus or any appreciation. I mean, I'll see appreciation, but I'll never see any bonuses.
Yeah, but you're gonna have a pension and great benefits, so you get one or the other.
Your benefits
are
different. Yeah, the bonuses that's what I was saying that before too. That's part of the package. That's part of what you get with So some people don't have pensions. Some people don't even have retirement plans. Some people don't even have insurance in their. They have to self-insure.
That's true.
So it really depends on the.
I think with the motivational thing, it's just one of those deals where we do quarterly bonuses for the guys, and not many people do that. Like I heard Jimmylee saying that sometimes you just don't get a bonus, or heck, you'll see appreciation, but you're just not gonna see a bonus. So what? I was in a field for a long time in a plumbing truck, worked for different plumbing companies, and I've always heard that hey guys, no bonus, sorry, we had a bad year. Or this, or whatever excuse you can possibly imagine.
And they go out and buy new trucks after 2 weeks.
So I just kind of made it into a priority that every time we do the yearly budget, we do our financials every year, that the budget shows the bonus for every quarter dependent on if we hit our numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
So then again, it's all about creating a culture. It's about, dealing with employees that sometimes slack off, even that they could be doing great. And all of a sudden, in the third, second quarter, the numbers really, really dip. And then you're like, hey, look, let's have a conversation. What's going on? Your performance is actually affecting not only yourself and not just what you got going on, but the rest of the company, the rest of your other guys, the rest of your brotherhood that's here, that everybody else is pulling their weight. So it really comes down to a conversation, but as far as motivation, yeah, we do quarterly bonuses. We have a company trip. We have an entire company outing every year. Once a year, we take the whole company out to the beach with their significant other, so it creates a lot of really good morale. But just being real transparent, making yourself open to your employees, showing them the budget, showing them the things that they want to see so they can see how the business operates. And you're not this owner that walks around like up here that nobody can talk to, that nobody knows what's going on, that everybody thinks that you're making millions and millions of dollars as the owner. No. Come to the in our shop, my actual office is in a extremely open area on a folding table. And then so when everybody comes in, I'm not in an office, so to speak, with a door at all. I'm literally like just, hey man, what's going on? Everybody sees me when I'm there. So anybody ever has any questions, like, hey, how are we doing for the year? How are we doing for the quarter? I'm like, here's the budget, boom, and I show them. And so it might be really unorthodox, but for what we got going on, it really works, and really having good people. And so
that's awesome. Nice. Yeah, I like that approach. It's different. And like you said, you created this atmosphere. You created this, quote, brotherhood. And you also created this entity. So it's really whatever you want it to be. It's your creation. That's the special part about it.
That's his freedom. Remember that he said he was still free. That's your freedom. You get to do what you want. Not necessarily being free, do whatever you want outside of work, but your freedom is to be able to maneuver and manipulate your business to make it what you want. That's the freedom that entrepreneurs and these business owners, Gil and Mikey, get. The luxury that they have.
And I'm sure we've all worked for someone who generated an atmosphere that was so negative. I don't know if say negative, but something that you didn't want to be around. And now you have the chance to make your own, basically. Mm-hmm. What did I always want to work around? You know what I'm saying? Because you guys, a lot of times when you're given the bonuses or when you're talking to your guys, you're thinking how you were. Like you said, you heard these conversations go on in a truck saying, yeah, no bonuses this year. Like, you know what? I'm never going to do that. I'm going to have bonuses for it. But you made it an incentive, not just a la mala throwing bonuses all over the place.
No.
People are getting unappreciative of that.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah. They think it's part of that. All right, so... but the last one, this is for anyone, but I'm going to have Gilbert kick it off. All right, so we're talking about hard work does pay off. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about mentality. We're talking about having a healthy environment while we work. What do you have like a daily reminder to bring it, hone it in sometimes when you forget or when you get a stressed caller or customer that calls in and goes haywire, or you're just having an off day, is there a motto that you live by to kind of remind you what's going on?
Oh boy. I guess for me, when stuff hits the fan, to put it in
nice terms.
I guess the weight of the responsibility just weighs on me. When you're having a day like that, the responsibility kind of weighs on you. And I really always go back to the people that we've got and the families that are relying on me to keep my cool, to make good decisions, to be level-headed, and to have their best interests at heart. And so every time that I have a bad day, because they do come, when it's stressful, when the phone's ringing off the hook, when I can't answer all the emails, when, things like that, I literally, I take a deep breath and just realize that it's just life, and if you let it get the best of you, your reaction can cause such a negative tone to everybody around you. So no matter what happens in your life, no matter what news you get, no matter what situations employees kind of bring, personal or whatever the situation is knowing that you're grounded, whether you're grounded in your faith, whether you're grounded with your family, what you truly believe in, what your priorities are in your life. That is what I think about. I think about my family, I think about my faith, I think about God, I think about what I'm made up of, what my parents have taught me day in and day out. And at the end of the day, there's no situation in my work business life that can cause me to have such a reaction that I can actually lose more than I know. And so it's just staying grounded, staying humble, knowing where you come from. And, that really goes a long way with me. So there isn't a particular saying or a motivational, some motivational quote or anything like that I kind of go back to and go, okay, this is my quote of the day. I'm going to stick to this as it is just how I'm built.
Yeah, it's more of a mentality.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty well said. All right, so with that being said, we are going to wrap it up with the quotes, and the first quote is by. Does everyone remember Marlon Wayans from the Wayans brothers? Remember that?
Oh yeah.
He was the funny.
Oh, yeah.
He was the goofy. He was
They
the
did,
goofy
the
brother.
funk, the who drinking the hood, who drinking my juice in the hood. Ain't that
Oh
that
yeah,
movie?
South Central. I drinking my juice in the hood. Don't be a menace.
To the Menace Society of the Hood. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so his quote goes like this: "Success is not a destination, but the road you're on. Being successful means that you're working hard and walking your walk every day. You can only live your dream by working hard towards it. That's living your dream." So that's by Marlon Wayans, and the second one is by Maria Bartiromo. "I think my biggest attribute to any success that I have had is hard work. There really is no substitute for working hard." So, obviously, working hard does pay off. We're here, episode number 33, with our good friend Gilbert. Gil, is there any plugs you want to or shout outs you want to do now that we're wrapping up the episode here?
Sure.
And where can people find you?
Yeah, so we're in North Carolina in the Durham area, Durham, Raleigh, and you can go on our website, www.purelineplumbing.com, get all the info you need. You can call us. We're on Facebook as well, on Pureline Plumbing, and we travel the U.S. doing medical stuff. So, if you're a facility director or anybody listening that works in hospitals or animal hospitals and need some medical gases ran, just go on our website, give us a call, and we'll take care of it for you.
Beautiful.
Nice.
All right, Gil, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you, bud. Thank you.
That was
Yeah, man.
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Hey Gilbert, after this show, I want to talk to you. I want to give you my address to see if I can get a canoe.
Yo.
That canoe is a
all you
line
have
of
to
the
do is
day.
Meet the numbers in the
Budget.
any canoe you want.
All right, does hard work pay off? In this episode, we had a special guest, friend, and entrepreneur, Gilbert Rodriguez. We discussed topics of working hard, the types of workers we are, the kinds of examples we have and lead for our children, and what we want them to take away from it, and our recommendations to slackers. We wrapped the episode up with quotes from Marlon Wayans and Maria Bartiromo. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.